Okay, so in this video I will show you how to open Jupyter in a web browser without installing it on a computer, how to start a file if you're starting a new file from scratch, or how to, and I should probably say, how to import a file from your computer. So first I'll go to the Jupyter. I'll just Google Jupyter and be mindful that it's a Y instead of an I, and the Y comes in PY is actually short for Python. Okay, so the first link that comes is the project Jupyter. That's the website, so we go to that site. You can also just type in jupyter.org, and then you get to a website, and that's going to be a bunch of information here that if you have the time or the interest, I encourage you to go through some of it. Other than that, we'll just scroll down. We're going to use what we call the Jupyter Notebook, and for this kind here, you can see we have two options: try it in your browser or install the notebook. And this video is specifically for the browser version if you decide not to install it on a computer, or if you don't have a computer to install it onto. So let's try it in your browser. Now we give us some more options. Now this starts getting confusing, right? And that's why we have this video to show that. So we have an old version of it, and then we have a more comprehensive one, is Jupyter Lab. That's the one I will encourage you to try. There's Julia, R, C++, and these are different computer script environments that Jupyter works with. We're gonna take Jupyter Lab here. That one has a lot of integrated. We'll start it up. Now it's setting up a repository. It's just setting up demo files that you can use, so you can get a feel of what it does. Some of those demo files are actually quite complicated, but it just shows what you actually can do with Jupyter. So it may take a little bit, depending on your internet speed. So see, here we go. Nice little dynamic. Okay, so this is the work environment we have. So you left here, you have a section. This is the section that have the files we're working with, and this is in the demo. And keep in mind, these are not files that are on your computer. These are files that are generated, let's say, in the cloud or online. That means when you make edits to it, they're not saved on your computer. And that's something we have to be very careful with when we're doing work using this web-based version. The second window here, this is the work window. This is where we have the file. This has a lawrence.ipynb. The ipynb is the file format for a Jupyter file. And those are the files that I will provide to you. And it's also the files you will turn in, for example, as homework if you choose to use Jupyter. You can also see that file is located here in the demo folder. The other tab that's up here is a reference. I do encourage you guys to, if you have again the time and the interest, you can go through some of this here. There's so much things we can do with Jupyter that we're not going to use in the class, and I'm hopeful that the information I provide, or the examples I provide, will be sufficient for what we're going to use. So I'm going to close down this reference file here, reference tab. Now we see we have a file here. This is the built-in file. It's more complicated, but you kind of see it's a mixture of some text. Here's some computer code, some more text. The equations look absolutely fantastic, not like in Word or Microsoft Word. Again, this is just more complicated. So I'll close this one down as well. Actually, before I close it down, I'll go up here in File, and I will go in New. So this is how we're going to open a new file. If you're going to start a new notebook or new file, you go in a new notebook, and it pops up here. And then I'll close that. Oh, there comes another option here. Kernel. This, if you're going to do any computer script in there, it needs to have information about which compiler we're going to use. Are we going to use Python compilers? If you scroll down, you can see no computer scripts. We can load in C++ compilers and so forth. The computer scripts are provided throughout the semester in Python, so I'm just going to leave it there. I'm not going to use it here, but I'm just going to leave it, so I will select that. Then I will close down the Lorenz file. Now you see we have our untitled file. This is a blank file to start out with, and we now see it's also located over here in the file section. Just because you created this file does not mean it's on your computer. In fact, it is not. So if you start writing onto it, it's like, hey, I did a homework problem here. That's great. I'm going to turn it down, but I'll turn it in, not turn it down. I will turn it in, and I'm going to do that tomorrow. So I'm going to close this down and stop, and then work on it later or turn it in tomorrow. The file will not be there. You have to go in and right click on the file and go to download. That way you can download the file to your computer. So for example, you can download it to the desktop, save as. Okay. And now I can close it. Close without saving, sure. And now it comes out with a bunch of other ones. You can now start your own files again and new files here if you wanted to. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to delete it from the permanently delete it from the cloud. Okay, now it's not there anymore. So how do you import a file? Well, let's try and do that. If I can minimize this window a little bit. There we go. Now you can see, since I downloaded it, I have it on my desktop here. So to open a file that you already have on your computer, you can simply just drag and drop it into the files. And there it will be, and you can double click on it and it will pop up. Again, we select the Python 3 and it will pop up in the window. You can continue working on it. But this is really important to do that. If it's a file you have to share, or if it's one you're going to turn in, if it's one you're going to work on later, you have to go in and manually download it to your computer each time. Even after it's downloaded, if you do a save as, it will not save to the file on your computer. You have to download it.